know a lot of people look for these lead generation companies and tools, and buy these that pay for these leads, and I'll be honest, I've tried it, and it didn't work for me. It's just I found out that just good old fashioned friendship and being honest and sincere is the key. There, everybody says there's a inventory shortage. I don't know that there's a shortage so much as it is that it's just turning over. They're just not staying on the market like they used to. So people say, well, I hear there's no houses. And like, every day houses come up for sale, but if you're not in position to go look at that house and buy that house, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to buy it. So sure, there's not as many long-term inventory, but there is inventory.
This is Solo Agent World, where we celebrate the accomplishments of high-performing single-agent real estate practices. Hi, I'm Mike Cerrone with Mastermind Agent, and welcome to Solo Agent World, where we celebrate the accomplishments of top-performing solo real estate agents. Today, we're talking with Gary Walls with Cry Lake Realtors in Arlington, Tennessee. In his first 12 months as a full-time agent, he sold 24 homes worth $7.7 million and earned $217,000 in GCI as a lone wolf solo agent. His average price was $323,000 with 42% buyers and 58% sellers. He's been an agent 3 years part-time and 1 year full-time. Welcome to the call, Gary.
Thank you. Hey, Mike. Good to see you.
Hey, Gary, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcast. So excited to talk with you today and share your story. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Before we talk about what you're doing today, we'd like to go back for a minute and talk about what you did before you got into real estate.
Sure. Well, I've been a commission sales person practically my entire life, at least the last 30-something years. And I was in advertising sales, worked for a printing company, a couple of different printing companies, and worked on commission sales there. And with the advent of the computers, the printing market just kind of slowly evolved and changed over time. And I'm also a licensed building contractor. So I just thought the real estate side excited me about helping with my building career as well. But getting too old to build, so I always enjoyed being in the homes and looking at different homes and helping people with home purchases. Initially on the building side, now it's kind of transitioned into the sales side.
Very good. So you got your license part-time about 4 years ago, and you were doing it for 3 years part-time. During that 3 years that you were moving along, what kind of time commitment were you giving to the business? What kind of production did you have for that part-time phase?
So I wasn't investing near as much time into it as I needed to, but I was still working in sales at the other company, and every year my sales improved, but it still was just not enough to earn a living. And I was kind of scared to jump out and make that full transition. And then COVID hit last year. So when that hit, the printing market basically just went to zero. So all of a sudden I had no income there, and I did have some income in real estate. So I was like, well, if ever there was going to be a time that I would go into it full time, this is it. Let's dive into this and see what happens. So July 1st last year, I went in full time and been kicking it ever since.
You absolutely have. And I want to come back to that part where we start from July and move forward over this last 12 months, because it's pretty exciting. But I know that we probably have some people listening who are part-time themselves, or they're just getting started, and maybe they're getting started part-time. They're in that position you were in 4 years ago. So let's talk about that very first year of being a part-time agent. And my question to you is, how many homes did you sell in that first 12 months of being part-time? Do you recall?
Maybe 4, if I remember correctly. Wasn't many. But I think in the first full 12 months, I believe it may have been 4. Possibly 3, maybe 4.
Do you recall what happened like in the next 12 months? In the next 12 months, did it remain at 4, or were you able
Now,
to bump it up a little bit?
so my income basically doubled every year in those part-time years. So I was selling more, but still wasn't enough to earn a full-time living. So,
Right.
And I work for a big brokerage firm, Crowlike's, one of the largest in the country, privately held real estate companies, and it is by far the largest in the market that I work in. And we have our own training meetings, and so I would go take some time and go sit in on these training meetings, and the lady that was kind of in charge of the curriculum for those meetings, she just told me, said, Gary, you've got a knack for this, but you're never going to make it part-time. You've got to just make a commitment. So she's the one that kind of pushed me over the fence, but really the COVID was the final hit, that kind of pushed me there. But she gave me some insightful information about there's lots of part-timers. If you want to earn a living in this, you can't do it part-time.
Sure. Well, let's stay there in that part-time just for a couple more minutes. The part-time sales was 4 in the first 12 months. It sounds like it might have gone up to maybe 8 in the second, and then maybe 12 in the final part-time year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say probably 6 in the second year, and 10 or 11 in the third.
Great, thank you. And again, I'm sure people wanted to get that idea. Let's go back to the very first part-time year where you sold to 4. What were you doing to make something happen just as you were initially getting started?
Well, I was reaching out to basically my sphere of influence, just letting people know that I was getting into real estate, going through somewhat of a career change, not full-time, but I was making a transition, and just basically reaching out to friends, family, just anybody I'd had contact with, in years past.
And when you reached out to them, how were you reaching out, and what were you saying to them? Were you calling by phone, email, text?
Some of the closer ones were phone calls. Some of the ones that I haven't spoken through, to in a little bit longer periods of time, I was using email and Facebook, just post, not only post, but Facebook messaging as well.
And what was your message to them? How did you break the ice that you've added this extra piece of living to your or livelihood to your living? How did you broach this idea that you were now starting to sell homes and that they should contact you if they want to buy or sell?
Well, I think everybody knew that because I've been a licensed builder since 2002. However, I just dabbled in that. Built 1 or 2 custom homes, every 12, 16, 18 months. I didn't, I just did it kind of somewhat to supplement my income on the sales side when the printing industry started declining. And so everybody knew that I had a building background and was involved in the housing market in one way or the other. And so basically it was just an extension of that I just let them know, said, hey, I still occasionally are going to build a house, here and there, but I'm going to start looking at this from a different angle and going to approach on the sales side. So come see me, come talk to me, and let's get some business going.
How many homes have you built as a builder?
Not many yet. So in 20 years, I've probably built 24, 25 houses.
Very good. But you do know the process well then.
Yes.
And that probably helps you out when you're talking with people and they're looking at a home, say with a buyer and trying to inspect it, even with a seller to listing, you understand how that home was put together. I
do. And I bring a different perspective, and especially on the buy side, because I can take clients into a house and they may ask me, what would it take to do this? And I can answer those questions where a lot of realtors can't. So I've got a little bit different, experience and expertise and that I bring to the market, but I haven't built a house since I went full time. I had one under construction last year, and I sold it the very first week of July that I went full time. And I've had an opportunity to probably build 4 to 6 customs since then, but I haven't had time. I wanted to put my focus in the sales side of it. And so I just had to decline those and say, look, I'm trying something different. I haven't relinquished my license. I haven't retired it. It's still active. I'm just not doing anything with it right at the moment.
Well, this brings up an interesting question. So where you're sitting right now, you've gone full time, and we're going to talk about how that went in just a second. But this idea of comparing it to being a builder, it sounds like you're moving towards real estate. Is real estate where you want to stay?
Oh, sure.
Are you making more money selling homes as a real estate agent than you were as a builder? Because people don't have perspective on that. Most people don't understand what the margins are working as a builder.
Well, absolutely. My intention is to go to the real estate side of it, and that's why I've turned those houses down. So my biggest issue with the home building was on the spec side. You're dealing with a client, and it drags out for 6, 9, 12 months before you ever really see the true benefit, of a paycheck. And sure, you can get draws along the way, but it's not the full benefit of a paycheck. Whereas on the sales side of it, you're those things don't drag out quite as long. It's 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, a little bit longer in the market these days because you're having to spend more time trying to find properties, but they're out there. Everybody says there's a inventory shortage. I don't know that there's a shortage so much as it is that it's just turning over. They're just not staying on the market like they used to. So people say, well, I hear there's no houses. I'm like, every day houses come up for sale, but if you're not in position to go look at that house and buy that house, you're probably not going to get the opportunity to buy it. So sure, there's not as many long-term inventory, but there is inventory.
Excellent. I have one more question because I'm a curious fella. Your margin when you built a home, what kind of net profit percentage would be on that all that work that would take 6, 9, 12 months, right? And what kind of net margin was coming out the bottom?
You tried to work on a 10 to 12%, but in honesty, it was hard to achieve that when it was all said and done. If you was at 7%, I felt like I was doing pretty good. So
I appreciate that. Again, most people don't realize that, and that's really good information to know. So let's now do this. Let's move forward and let's talk about your first full year in real estate sales. This last 12 months that we've just gone through, this is nice and fresh for you. And you have had a great start to your full-time business. They had some motivation because you were coming out of the other side of the business that wasn't working out anymore, and you'd been in for a long time, that printing industry. But let's talk about what happened there. First of all, I just want to confirm your first 12 months full-time. I understand you sold 24 homes in that 12 months. Is that correct?
Well, that 24 months includes that 24 sales includes probably the last half of my part-time sales as well. So that's really from a January of 2020 through current, but I didn't really go full-time until July of 2020.
Okay. And so you've done pretty well. And the question is, what'd you do? What did you do to ramp that up so it could take over and become your full-time income, your full-time job?
I basically had more time being in the office and coming in every day, treating it like a job, didn't treat it like part-time anymore. Part-time, I'd show up at a sales meeting here once a week, and then, in the afternoons or evenings, sometimes during the day, because I had freedom in my other job as well to do things during the day, but I didn't have I wasn't afforded the time to really reach out to my sphere and my friends and my business associates as often and as much as I should have or wanted to. So when I went full time, I basically had more time to engage with clients. I come into the office every day, treat it just like a full-time job. I don't work out of the house. We can work out of the house if you so choose. I just choose to come to the office, and it's I treat it like a business.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about your daily schedule. You said you're treating it like you did your prior job, and sounds like time-wise, but you're completely independent. You can do whatever you want, and so that's what some people struggle with. Could you tell us when you start each day, when you end each day, what you're doing during the day? What's your typical day look like?
Sure. I arrive at the office about 7 a.m. every morning and get me a cup of coffee and kind of do a little soul searching for a few minutes and just, kind of preparing my day, preparing my mind, my heart, my soul, and just figuring out which direction, I'm going to go that day. I may already have appointments set up with inspections, appraisals, continuing education, some training classes, just I look at my schedule, see what I've got. I kind of look at the schedule the day before and know what I've got coming up, but I just confirm that I've got everything, time slotted for getting to those appointments. But first thing I do is I respond to any of the emails that I didn't get to the day before, and so I get those out early, and I check some websites. I do some reading online, local newspaper, local business paper, just checking to see what's happening in the marketplace around me, business-wise and real estate-wise, just to see what's happening. And then usually by 10 o'clock, I'm ready to hit the road and kind of go where I need to be. But if I'm not out of appointments, I'm still at the office. I stay at the office and I work at not a 9 to 5 job, but a 7 to 5 job. And I try to be home by 5 or 5:30, unless I'm showing properties. If I show properties, I'll work as late as I need to. If I'm writing offers or checking offers or what's going on. But if I don't have much of that going on, I'm typically at the house about 5:30.
Very nice. So do you have certain times during the day that you like to place your appointments?
I prefer to do them earlier in the morning or after 2 p.m. in the afternoon. If it's meeting with a client that's at the job, typically we'll schedule those 5:30 or 6 p.m. just because it gives them time to get home from work, get settled. If they got kids, kind of get them doing their thing or getting them involved in homework or whatever they've got. But try not to keep it too late because nobody wants a real estate agent sitting at their kitchen table at 8:30 in the evening. So I try to keep it on their schedule as much as possible.
For tools, are you using certain tools to keep yourself organized?
I've got a calendar on my computer at work, syncs with my phone. I got an iPhone just like everybody else, and can check my emails while I'm out and about. So it's not something that I have to wait till the next morning. If something's urgent, I'll take care of it, in the car as we're motoring around.
Let's do this. Let's dive into where your business is coming from. My understanding is in this last year, 100% of your business has come from repeat and referrals. Is that correct?
That's true. Repeat referrals and spheres. So that's where it's at for me.
Let's dive into that. So let's talk about that PCSOI, the past clients and sphere of influence, and how you're going out and reaching out to them and making that work. First question I have for you is, how big is your database of past clients and sphere of influence?
So, if you just looked at the overall count, the numbers would look like they were up there, like 600-700 number. But a lot of that is spouses or adult kids that maybe still live at home, college age kids or something like that. So when it gets right down to a mailing number, it's probably in the 325, 350 range.
Okay, so now you said you got a mailing number or a mailing list. So it sounds like one of the ways you're going to reach out is through mail. Before we get there, though, where do you keep all this information? Do you have a CRM, a place that you have a database for all these people?
Yeah, we have a sales CRM through the brokerage. It's a Moxie platform, and it allows me to separate people that are considered clients and also other real estate agents. So I can manage that and keep it all separate and manage who's working with me and who's working for me. So like inspectors, that type of thing. So
very good. Let's now talk about how you're reaching out. You mentioned you're reaching out to these past clients and sphere of influence. Over the course of the year, what specifically are you doing and how often are you doing it?
So when I sell a home, we have a program that we can go into that puts them on a 7-year contact point. And so past clients will receive from me 6 times a year some type of information. Usually quarterly, it's a newsletter, or maybe, every 4 months, they receive a newsletter. The other months, they may just receive some type of postcard, some type of holiday greeting, but they're going to receive at least 6, sometimes 7 touches from me through that program as a past client every year for 7 years. And on top of that, through our marketing department, and I've done some other things through some other companies as well, but I send a quarterly newsletter, and I also send postcards. Usually in between those quarterly newsletters, I'll send some type of postcard, as well as I have an email newsletter that goes out twice a month.
Okay, so let's break this down. So you've got a 7-year campaign that starts off that touches people 6 times a year, right? Boom, and you initiate. You prepay for that then when you close? You just
when I close it, yes. When I close, I pay for that, and it just that way, it's thoughtless.
Goes on autopilot.
So yeah, it goes out automatically. I can go in there and check the make sure all the information's current. Phone numbers changed or whatever. Spouse, God forbid a spouse passed. I can go in and update that info, or divorce, or whatever. But I have the right to or the ability to go in there and make those changes. And
do you know what company you're doing that through?
It's through our company. It's through our marketing department. So.
Great. So it's not an outside company that you've purchased. It's inside.
No. It's straight through the brokerage.
Very good. Now you're also sending out and that's, by the way, that 7-year program's all going out by mail.
And even after that program, it's when we enroll, it's a 7-year commitment, and it's a one-time payment. However, you can renew that. I haven't been in the business 7 years, so I haven't had to do that. But you can continue that enrollment. You just pay a re-enrollment fee at the end of the 7 years.
How much is the enrollment period at the beginning, the first 7 years? What does it cost?
It's $20.
$20 to keep in touch with them over the next 7 years. Sounds like a pretty smart move.
It is.
Very nice. And then on top of that, you're also doing a quarterly newsletter. Is that going out by mail?
That is going out by mail quarterly. And, I do pay for that. That's, that runs typical mailing, including postage. Most times right at close to $400, $370, $400.
And that includes the service to create it, to put it together, mail it out.
That's correct.
It sounds like it's about $1 a piece.
That's right.
Okay, very good. And is that happening with an outside service, or is that also inside?
It's in-house.
In-house. Very nice. And how big is that newsletter?
It's just a little 4-pager, like Sometimes 11 by 17. Most time it's 8.5 11, just, folded in half and then letter folded.
So it's basically a 4-piece. So if you took a regular piece of paper, folded it in half, you've got 4 panels.
That's correct.
Okay, cool. And then they write that. Is it black and white? Is it color?
Oh, it's color.
Okay. And is it
branded to me and full color?
Great.
Usually got a recipe on it, and then some real estate information tidbits, and then usually one other article, just in general, just things about life.
Do you customize it in any way, or is it all put together by the company and it's generic?
It's put together by the company, but we have about 6 different templates we can choose from.
Very nice. And then you also mentioned that you've got postcards that you're sending out between those. So that's more mail. What kind of postcards are you sending out?
Just basically greetings around the holidays. Hope you're having a great 4th of July. Just typically around the holidays, Easter, Thanksgiving, spring, fall. Each season, Christmas time. Something that is related to events that are happening at the time.
And is the company putting that together for you, or is that something you're doing outside of it?
I've done both. I've done stuff through some online vendors, and the company produces some as well. So I've used them both.
And how often are you doing that? Are you doing that maybe 4 times a year, the postcard?
Probably, yeah, about 4 times a year, and then 4 times on the newsletter. And then I also do just listed and just sold postcards, as well on listings and sales.
Very nice. Very good. And then the postcard, is it a regular size postcard?
Usually about a 6 by 9 size. It's a little
so it's a little jumbo. It's bigger, 6 by 9.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's going out by bulk mail, first class mail?
Those are typically mailed first class.
Okay. And do you know the cost that how much it's costing you to send that out?
No, it's a little bit less than the newsletter. It's not much. The only savings, because the postage is the same, the only savings would be, basically the size of the piece. However, the newsletter is typically on a less expensive type of paper, so they're almost a wash when it comes to the price, really.
So it's costing around $400.
Yeah, probably $325. It is a little bit less.
So it's costing maybe around $1 a piece or so, just an estimate if somebody was trying to estimate. And that's being done by a service. You're not sitting there licking, the old days licking stamps. You're not putting stamps on there.
No, I'm not.
Good. All right. And your list is around 325 to 350 people. Now, you also mentioned you're doing an email newsletter twice a month, right? Did I get that correct?
Yes, it's not only so I do pay a different service to do this for me, and they will they put together all the content. It's real estate related. Company out of Austin, Texas, and so they do it's basically twice a month. They'll do an emailing for me to all my sphere that I have email contact list for, as well as they'll post that content to my Facebook page as well. So it gives me twice a month. It gives me additional content on Facebook that I don't have to put on there. That's automatically generated into my page, and it when you click on this link, it may have 4 or 5 different articles related to home purchases or home sales or mortgages or just some type of content real estate related.
And what's the name of the company that you're hiring to get that done?
I use Outbound Marketing for that.
Outbound Marketing, very good. And you said they're putting together 2 emails for you plus posting on social media. How much
Yeah.
is that running you each month?
I want to say it's around 175. I believe is the cost on that.
Okay. And your list, that's the same list. So it's basically going out to about 400 people.
Yeah, it probably goes to more than, well, it's probably close to that, because it will go to husband and wife. So, whereas if I mail one postcard, I'm mailing one per household. But if I've got both of them's contact info, they're both getting an email. So it's more than that on email blast on it. So.
Very good. So that's the marketing program. Is there anything else you're doing to reach out to your past clients and sphere of influence over the course of a year?
No, that's pretty much all the touches I'm making, as far as marketing portion goes.
Okay. And if of all these items you've mentioned, have you noticed that one of them is doing better at generating business than the rest?
I don't, I haven't had anybody call and say, hey, I saw your postcard, so we were thinking about putting our house up, could you come talk to us? However, I do have people say, hey, I got your postcard. I like that recipe that was in there. Or, I get some feedback on my Facebook content, but I can't relate that it specifically has sent me business or a transaction was strictly related to one of those items that I did, but it's just branding to me. It's just keeping me at the top of my sphere's information, and top of mind, where if they do get into a situation where they're thinking, they'll think of me, or if they know somebody, they may, push my name, to someone else.
What's your total annual marketing budget or even a monthly budget? Do you have those numbers figured out?
No, they tell us we should be spending at least 10% of our gross, but and it's probably is close to that, but I haven't ever sat down and just added it up and see what I spend. I'm not sure I want to know.
Okay, very good, very good. Now, are you doing anything else to reach out? What I mean by that is, are you making phone calls? Are you bringing people to lunch? Are you doing something that's more individualized that we're not hearing about in this market?
Yeah, I do that. I've got a program where I try to do at least 2 or 3 contacts a day personally through either a text message or a phone call. I don't know that people answer their email as much as they used to, because they get so much junk email anytime they go to a website. They're bombarded, and all of a sudden they're getting 20 emails a day. So not sure that they look at that as much, but text message, I think people still read text, and I may just send a text, say, hey, just thinking about you, I hadn't talked to you in a while. If you get a chance, we need to get together and talk. And if they respond, then at that point we may schedule a lunch and go do a lunch. Some old high school friends or something that I haven't done business with in a while.
I think that's important. You said you're making 2 to 3 contacts per day. When you say contacts, do you mean like reach out one direction and maybe that something will come back, or do you actually have to get a conversation going back and forth?
I either make a phone call, just say, hey, hadn't heard from you, or I'll send a text message.
Do you try to do that during a certain time of the day?
No, it's just if I'm driving down the road in my car in between appointments, I make a commitment that, I'm gonna hit these 2 or 3 today. And so while I'm in the car, I got a little free moment. I don't specifically time block a time to do that. I do it in between while I've got some time going from one location to another.
How many lunches going out with your PCSOI? How many lunches do you think you do in a month?
A month, I'd say probably average about 10.
About 10. So this is part of your business plan.
It is.
Reaching out and bringing people lunch and meeting with them and talking to them.
Yep.
Okay. So that's good. So that's 120 a year lunches. So that's something that's nice. You can write off on your taxes, talk to your accountant.
And right half of it anyway.
But it is something you can, it is a business activity. You're going out there and meeting them and you're making the relationship. Now, when you're doing that, either in these calls or in the lunch, are you specifically asking for business, asking for referrals, or talking about real estate, or does it come up more just by
they know I'm in the business, so it's not something that I go specifically to them to discuss a real estate appointment unless they've reached out to me, like send them a text and they get back with me and said, hey, we're thinking about selling our house. And so at that point, I may set up a lunch appointment and go see kind of what their time frame is, what their plan is. But I when I go to lunch, typically, no, it's not just set up for me. I don't want it to be the pushy salesperson, but it inevitably always goes that direction at some point while you're there during that 45-minute to an hour meeting. So they may ask me, hey, how's the real estate going now that you're doing this full time, or what's going on in the marketplace. But so it leads to that, and at that point, then that kind of opens it up where we can discuss what their plans are, if they have any friends or relatives, or I've sold quite a few houses to my friends' children who have now become of age to buy houses. And so the parents may, right at the moment, may not be thinking about downsizing, but the kids are moving out and wanting to get their first house. So I've sold several houses in the last 16 months, to children of friends.
Very nice. Now, of that list, the 325, let's call it 350, 350 people that you're reaching out to, is there a subset in that list that seems to be sending you most of the referrals, or is it just spread out evenly among these people?
No, I've got some that send me a lot more than others. You often wonder why, but it may be that one of them's. I had one that is a really good client, and he's a couple of years ago decided he wanted to get into the rental market. So he says, "Let's see if you can find me some rental properties." So we looked around and found him some rental properties, and I said, "You sure you want to get into this?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "It'd be a good retirement income." So he does that, and then things run along for a year or two, and he's like, "I'm not sure this rental market stuff's for me." He says, "Why don't you come talk to me? Let's see what we can do about selling these houses." Sure. So we go sell them for him, and then he's wanting to downsize. So I actually did some remodeling on his house, and we put it on the market, and we found him another house. So I've got, and then he puts me in contact with his kids, or somebody he works with, a couple of people he works with. But yeah, I mean it's probably 10. I could say probably 10 people on my list that I have had multiple transactions based off of those 10. If I could get that out of all of them, I'd be somewhere.
So you've got a top 10 referral group right now that's just naturally developed. And the question I have for you is, do you do anything special or different for those top 10? Or is it just that you're doing what you do with everybody and they're just rising to the top?
No, I try to offer a thanks. May take him and his wife out to dinner, spend some quality time with them, and more so than just going and grabbing a burger at lunch. But I may get them a nice gift at Christmas time, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying my best to take care of them. So
very good, very good. Is there anything else that people should know about your your program to go out and generate business with your past clients and sphere of influence that we haven't talked about, but you think people should know?
No, I just, I know a lot of people look for these lead generation companies and tools, and buy these that pay for these leads, and I'll be honest, I've tried it, and it didn't work for me. It's just I found out that just good old fashioned friendship and being honest and sincere is the key. It I honestly try to help the people that I'm representing in transactions. I'm not just doing it for the transaction, for the money. And I tell people I do this to earn a living, but I also do it because I like it. If I didn't like it, I'd be doing something else. And so I want them to be happy in the transaction. I want them to call me back when they're ready to do something. I don't want to see them in the grocery store, or talk to them on the phone and have to hide from them, or see their number coming up. It's like, uh-oh, what do they want now? I sincerely want to help them, and I found that that's where your business is. It's through your contacts and referrals from those contacts. Because a lot of people know real estate agents. Do they like them? Maybe not. I'm hoping that's why I'm getting the call. Or they may know somebody's fixing to buy a house, and they say, you need to call Gary, and that's what I want them to do. But I want that person to understand that even though I may not know them personally, if they're a referral, I'm going to take as good care for them, as I would one of my friends. So.
Very nice. Let me ask you, let's circle back around to something you brought up earlier. You mentioned that the market's fast and that everybody has a different opinion on how to handle that and what to do with it. And that your opinion is that it just means that the inventory is turning over quicker, and you got to be in the market to be part of it. Are there any other strategies that you're using to be successful in this fast moving market?
Just try to stay on top of what's coming available. When I get to the office in the morning, that's one of the things I'll, during my research before, I hit the road, I see, what's come on, because some realtors stay up late and enter things in the system. So if I've got a client that's looking for a particular property, we've got these automated searches that sends out these more contact, info that, hey, this just hit the market, may want to take a look at this. But I try to look at it myself. If it's something that looks like that my client may be interested in and looks like a good candidate, you're gonna have to get on it quick. So at that point, I'll ask them, if they want to schedule a showing. If they do, that's something that I've got to work in my schedule quickly. You can't schedule it 3 or 4 days down the road, because it's probably not going to be there 3 or 4 days down the road if it's a good property. And if they're not a little unsure about it, I may just do a drive-by, street look and say, I really think this is something we probably need to see. And if it's something, I may also say, we really don't need to see this. It can go both ways. But I do my research in the morning as well. So you got to get on it quick. You can't do it once or twice a week. Go into the MLS and do searches. You've got to do it every day.
Gary, have you been in multiple offer situations where you're working with the buyer?
Where I've got the buyer?
Yes. Where you're working with the buyer and there are other buyers that want the same house. Has that come up for you?
Yes, it has.
What's the worst that's happened as far as how many buyers there were, and you what was the biggest multiple buyer situation you've been in?
Probably the most I've been was probably 6 offers on one property that we were looking at, and we didn't get it, and so we go look at the next one. The next one we make an offer, and I think there was 4 on that one, and we just had the discussion of, what is this the house? If this is the house you want, what are we going to do to make sure we get it? And nobody's really taking contingencies as much anymore, so we try to remove as much of those as we can. We try to we try to put up as strong an offer as we can. But you don't want to pay stupid money, and which I see a lot of going on right now. People just throwing money at houses way over what they're should be selling for. I'm thankful that we haven't had to do that, but if they want it bad enough, if it's a really, really strong house, you may have to pay more than what you really wanted to. But you just try to advise them, and first thing they ask you is, "Am I paying too much?" And my answer to that is, I can't look into a crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen 6 months or 12 months or 16 months down the road, what that house is going to be worth. But I can tell you that historically, real estate's been a strong investment. And, over the last 40 years, it's done nothing but appreciated. You had some down years where they may have declined, slightly, but they always come back, and then it goes up higher than that. So if you're looking for something for a 12-month living situation, probably shouldn't buy right now in today's market. If you're looking for something that you want to stay in for a period of time, you're probably not going to lose money.
Good. So that's how you're advising your buyer. Are you doing anything else to win in those multiple offer situations? For instance, are you reaching out to the listing agent to try to get information? Are you structuring or positioning the buyer in any way?
I don't just take for granted that there's multiple offers on a house. I always call the agent and, try to glean as much money much information from that call as I can. They're not going to tell you what they've got, what's going on, as far as money wise, but at least I know whether they have had multiple offers, and I can kind of tell, if our offer is really going to be in the game. If she tells me, yeah, we've got some and we got a couple of cash ones, then if I don't have a cash buyer, I know we're probably not going to get that house. And I just kind of try to forewarn them that we can put one in. Most of the time they'll end up saying, well, let's just keep looking. So but I do make a phone call to the other agent. I don't just leave anything for granted as far as a text message. You can get a lot more information talking to somebody on the phone than you can through a text message or an email.
Certainly. Absolutely. Now, have you've listed some homes and you've sold them. Have you been on the listing side and received multiple offers? And if so, how'd you deal with that?
Well, I put 2 up this past weekend. One of them we got 6 offers on, and 4 of them were 5 of them were over list. One of them was just an investor trying to steal it. Of course, that one didn't get looked at, but and out of the 5 that were over list, 4 of them were the same price, and one was just slightly under. So at that point, then you've got to sit down and explain to them the different financing scenarios and what can happen, whether they're USDA loans or FHA or conventional, or none of them were cash buyers. It's kind of a starter entry level home, right at $200,000. So, we showed Saturday, we showed Sunday, late Sunday night, or we met and had everything laid out and chose one, went that direction.
So in that situation, you chose one of the offers that came in. You didn't counter back to any of the buyers that came down. That was
they were strong offers. There was really no need to. They had a certain price point of what they were trying to get out of the house, and this far exceeded it. And it was a good offer.
Sure. Thank you for walking us through that and giving us kind of an insight to what happened there. Appreciate that. Well, this has been a lot of fun. And so I've got a couple more questions for you. We've seen your business, you're getting it started, you're kickstarting this business. You talked about the marketing. There's going to be some people listening to us, and the question they have is, are you profitable?
Well, sure. I couldn't be in it if I wasn't. And real estate's a profitable business if you're successful in it. Now, I have, in the 4 years that I've been here, part-time and full-time, I've seen a lot of agents come through our office that come in, and then we have weekly sales meetings, and you see them at the sales meeting, and then 3 months later you don't see them at the sales meeting. So you ask the broker, what happened to this person, what happened to that person. Well, or you may see that they went to a different brokerage, and then they were at that brokerage a short period of time, and then they're not there anymore and pretty much out of the business. So everybody thinks it's an easy business. If you think that real estate agents don't do anything and it's an easy business, you're totally missed the mark and totally don't understand the business. So you may want to rethink it. And I've had friends call me and say, "Hey, you look like you're doing well in this. I was thinking about selling real estate, and can we get together and talk?" And so I'll schedule a lunch with them and just throw it out there, what the expenses are getting into it, the MLS fees, the continuing education training, the classes you have to attend, marketing classes, the marketing expenses for your mailings. And most people have no idea that the money that it costs to get into it. But yes, there is money to be made in it too, if you treat it like a business and treat it right.
Have you run your numbers? Do you know what your net margin is as a percentage of the gross?
I was only in it six months last year full time, and so that was really the first year that I had our first half a year that I had a full accounting of how much money I was making in it, and honestly I don't remember what those numbers were, but this year I'm going to have a better handle on it. I keep up with my expenses in them program just like everybody else, and so I know what I'm spending every month and what I got coming in. Some months is better than others when it comes to income coming in. Some months you got more going out, so it's just but I couldn't really put a margin on it. I don't really know.
That's fine. Hey Gary, what drives you?
I just I'm not one to sit around and sit in the lounge chair and watch TV all day. I enjoy being with people. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy going to the office and conversing with other agents. We got new agents that come in. I've tried to taken a few of them on some appointments with me and kind of showed them how I do things, and hopefully that's helped them get their business kick-started and going. But I just enjoy people, enjoy going to work every day.
Gary, if you were going to advise a brand new agent who's just getting in the business, what would you tell them to do first?
First thing is reach out to your sphere. Don't be afraid to tell them that you're an agent, you're a new agent, and they're going to know that you're a new agent. But just if you're close enough with them, let them understand that you're not at this alone. You're going to have some people that help you through the office, but also to try to reach out to some family members that may trust you more and get a transaction or two under your belt. And you'll feel a lot more comfortable with it once you've done that, and to have that transaction behind you. That first one's a nightmare and terrifying, but it's a lot of obstacles to maneuver around. But once you get it, and you've got two or three there, you'll get the hang of it and you'll understand it better. So just get hooked up with someone that'll help you do that.
Very good. Very good. Well, I've come to the end of my questions for today. Do you have any parting thoughts for the listeners?
It's a strong market right now. I guess most of this is real estate agents, but don't think that it's the all gloom and doom that you see on the news. Turn the news off and pick up a newspaper just for content about what's going on in your community. But don't listen to all these naysayers. It's a good real estate market right now. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, Gary, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us today.
Yep, I've enjoyed it.
Thank you, Gary. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for joining us on Solo Agent World. Keep moving forward. Bye. This has been another episode of Solo Agent World. Enjoyed what you heard? Hit that like button. Plus, remember to subscribe and click that notification icon so you'll be the first to receive all the latest episodes. Love the show? Leave us a 5-star rating and write a quick review. If you know a solo agent that we should interview, yourself or someone else, let us know at mastermindagent.com. And if you have a solo agent friend who could benefit, tell them about the show. Thanks for listening to Solo Agent World. Keep smiling and keep moving forward.